Hello, and welcome to the News and Views with the award-winning EV Cafe. 30 minutes of what's happening in sustainable transport with expert analysis from the EV Cafe crew. Now then, today we have the gruesome twosome. We have Paul Kirby and Sarah Sloman. How are you both?
Hello, hello.
Oh, very well indeed. Buzzing off of yesterday's partner day. So it was very exciting to get together with all of our partners and really just sort of celebrate collaboration and all of that good stuff. It was fabulous. It was really great to see so many people. Scott Eady is already in the chat there, so we saw him yesterday, amongst many, many others. It was great. Lovely.
Yeah, you know how you set me some homework to do and then I really didn't do it until the very last minute because, you know, that's how I roll. It did turn out, though, that the task I wanted to do was see how many followers each of our collective EV Cafe partner sponsors have. And the first number I wrote down was 4.5 million, forgetting, of course, that All Star Charge Pass have got a larger company, Corpay, and so on, so on, so on. So that tipped it over 5 million followers. So that means if all of our partners and sponsors echo the messaging that we're putting out to grow this EV community, it has a potential of touching 5 million accounts, which of course is pie in the sky. But even if it was a fraction of that, what a phenomenally motivating figure to work with off the back of yesterday's Partners Day.
And of course, for all those people who join us from other companies who aren't partners, jump on the back of those conversations.
Why not?
Have your say, and that way you're getting further exposure for your brand. So that's a really positive way of getting our messages out.
Top of the class.
Most important. Well done, Sarah. Hurrah!
Huzzah! Maths.
Now then, coming up,
Bloody
there's been
A-star
an
students.
Oh, don't you just hate them? Hate them. Anyway, there has been an increase in the cost of public EV charging. Registrations of new zero emission light commercial vehicles plummet. That's a very emotive word. We'll be talking to our van expert Paul Kirby later. Allstar have been confirmed as the roaming partner for the Sainsbury's Smart Charge network. Higher leasing costs cut battery electric vehicle demand, and used EV prices are predicted to fall even further. And finally, First Group invests £1 million to speed up the electrification of buses. But before anything else, I've been on holiday, as you know, for a while, and I've come back and I'm absolutely frothing, relaxed, chilled, happy. I'm sure somebody's going to stand on my corner in a minute and spoil that. But out of 10, I reckon I'm about a 9.5, as good as it gets. How are you? Paul, how are you? Out of 10, how you diddling, Flower?
Bloomin' heck. Well, right as we speak at the minute, I feel little bit positive. I'm a very in the moment person, so I can get cross in the moment, and I can get happy in the moment, and so I'm happy in the moment. So I'm probably a good solid 8 at the moment. I'm going out tonight, so well, let's go with a 9 even, because we've got something to look forward to.
Oh my God, that's very good. Oh, that's good to hear.
Golly.
Yeah, I'm not at all. I'm more like, I'm one of those people that's happy most of the time / all the time. But I'd have to score it a 3. I'm in an absolute storm of stuff going down. So I'm like, oh my God. But it's all very positive in the sort of work progress way. But there's just so many
3,
things.
but it's all positive.
It's definitely a 3. It's that kind of waking up going, oh my God, here we go again. Like on a roller coaster up and down. But it is my birthday on Tuesday. So I will be starting my celebrations tonight.
Wow. Speaking of birthdays, Mel from Greenfleet, it's her birthday today. I've been sent a message to ask if we can give her a shout out. So absolutely, Mel, happy birthday to you.
Mel.
Karen Mull, you're 8 out of 10.
Yay.
You got the hint. I'd like you all to tell us, how are you doing? Genuinely. None of your public face nonsense. How are you feeling? Because it really does matter. Always.
Can
Go on,
I
Paul.
just say, John, I think it's important to say that I'm not always an 8/9. I
Oh,
often
amen.
have moments. I often have moments of 4 or 5 or 3 or occasionally 2 where I get very overwhelmed.
Yeah,
By
it's a good word.
stuff.
Overwhelm's a good word.
But I'm so glad of people around me that I can be quite open with and talk about. And John, you and I vent from time to time together. And Saz, you and I have had more than 1 or 2 conversations about challenging moments. And that's how I get myself back up a little bit, off the sort of 2s and 3s. And I think it's important for people to kind of share wherever they're at. Or coffee, yes, or coffee.
But it's Bailey's coffee. It isn't.
Bailey's coffee.
It isn't.
It's 5 o'clock
wow,
somewhere.
Let's have a look at this. Gary Comerford, 8 out of 10. The poor weather's probably knocking 1 off that. Yeah, fair point. David Cornish, 7 out of 10. Would like to go outside in the dry for a change. Amen to that. And Esther Jones, 10 out of 10.
Oh,
from the AA.
Esther Jones, we love you so much. It's wonderful to see you yesterday.
Gets a new car. A new EV
What have you got,
car.
Esther? Do let us know. Economy
Tell
Trucks,
us.
8 out of 10. Friday is helping, doesn't it? Always. It's Friday today. Karen, you're so lovely. Being part of the Europe car team means I'm usually 8 out of 10. Just fabulous.
Richard.
Let us know.
Let's check on Richard
Richard
Lindop.
Lindop. Strong 4. Okay, need to introduce my body to vegetables again after 3 days of solar and storage.
It's so tough, isn't it? Your body
Well,
just kind
actually,
of implodes.
On that's a really good point. And one of the reasons for the low ebb is energy, right? What's gone wrong is I've
Really
done
important.
1,000 miles last week, nearly 1,000 miles this week, all of my own doing, such amazing things happening in the industry. It feels like the time is now, but we're all at that stage of life where there's multiple things on top of the work. So the work is awesome. And then other things aren't so easy. So then you're like, well, what's the number? So sometimes you just have to accept it, own it, hold it, and work through it, and it'll go back up.
I'll tell you what, there's some really positive people in our world. Lloyd Allen, 10 out of 10. Now I
10.
have the EV Cafe on. Shane Reese, 10 out of 10. Tenders in. Oh, that's lovely.
Oh.
And Esther Jones has got a BMW iX2. Fancy.
Ooh, lovely.
Oh.
I will just give a shout out to Danita Brewer. I think that's how I pronounce it.
4.
4 at the moment, but looking forward to being 7 out of 10
Yeah.
after the news and a cup of coffee, which is
Danita, what would
good
help
medicine.
to raise you from a 4 to a 7 other than Paul giving you a
Us.
shout out? Do let us know. Are we enough or is there more to come? Let's crack on
Probably
with the
not.
news. Electric vehicle drivers
go.
have faced an increase in flat rate costs for both fast and rapid charging speeds, according to a new analysis from the AA, said employer of Esther Jones. When they've been doing pricing of public charge points, the AA's EV recharge report for August reveals a 2 pence increase at fast chargers and a penny increase at rapid chargers, which coincided with the summer getaway. Elsewhere, peak rate slow charging, typically found at lampposts, fell by a penny in the month. All other prices remained static for the 3rd consecutive month. Now then, if you're able to go to a dynamic charger, you may pay on average 24% less at peak times and 34% less off peak, which is really very interesting. I'm particularly bothered by the fact that as the international energy markets show a reduced cost of energy, how is it that prices are creeping up? Any insight, Sarah?
Yeah, of course, we know the answer to support our charge point operators putting this infrastructure in the ground. The fact that pence per kilowatt hour is meant to go towards repaying their investment models. So I get that. I find it confusing. Yesterday on the M5 southbound following our partner day, I was paying 39 pence per kilowatt hour at 5:30 when all of the Westmoreland charge points were taken and all of the Tesla charge points were taken. And the Tesla bank, because I've prepaid for my charging, of course, it's included in my subscription. So I was queuing there. And there was lots of people that weren't driving Teslas because, of course, Tesla have opened their network. Well, at nearly half the price, no wonder there was a queue for the Tesla network chargers at the exact same time that Tesla is pulling a few of its charging banks that were originally open to all. Because of exactly this, owners of Tesla have already paid for their charging and should be allowed to use it. So it's a tricky one.
Paul, you exclaim surprise at the increasing cost
Yes.
for fast and rapid. You've clearly not felt it.
Well, I mean, look, I very rarely charge in public at all. I'm blessed with a home charger, so therefore I try and manage my charging to an absolute minimum in the public domain. And of course, there are a number of ways to access private chargers or work chargers or other kinds of chargers are available, sort of things like co-charger or whatever. But so public charging for me is always a minimum, and of course for the commercial vehicle world, I'm an advocate of that. So you've got to find ways of being able to charge cheaply. But I do have a little element of sympathy for the charge point operators who are facing standing charges, that little charge that you pay every day, that are going up exponentially, and also they don't have the same protection against the rates as as private customers. So as in domestic energy, so the energy prices can fluctuate much more wildly. So I guess it's all about transparency, isn't it? And we know that these companies are not making loads more money. So, but there is a real challenge around the cost of energy publicly, and it is putting people off. There's no question.
Absolutely. Now then, Danita Brew is already at a 6. This is good news. We're aiming for a 7 by the end. If we don't hit it, there's going to be trouble. I might even have to give an EV Cafe mug away, and we've got none left.
Got none left, so don't do that.
We can order one.
Yeah, could be the first one of the new batch. Anyway, let's see
I
if we
need
can get...
I need to give this one away because it's been in the dishwasher too many times.
Oh no!
So maybe
Has it had your face round it? Anyway, there were 3,600 zero-emission new light commercial vehicles registered for the first time in April to June. Sadly, a decrease of 23% compared to the same quarter last year. Zero-emission LCVs accounted for 4% of all new LCV registrations, a slight decrease from the figure of 5% in April to June 2023. However, the new figures from the DFT show that registrations of new zero-emission cars grew year on year. There were 83,000 zero-emission cars registered for the first time in April to June 2024, an increase of 8% on the same quarter in 2023. Zero-emission cars accounted for 18% of all new car registrations, compared to 17% in April to June 2023. Good news on cars, still a long way to go, and anybody who says that cars are done doesn't understand the question. However, very, very clearly, Paul, like commercial vehicles are struggling, and we need some help. What is happening?
There's no question, and once again, I'll always start with the zero emission van plan that was launched with ourselves, BVRLA, Logistics UK, REA, AFP, all putting their weight behind this policy that we've given to government in a box.
Was championed at the Labour Party conference this very week.
Oh, nice.
By the VVRLA. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend. I wanted to. Lorna has also been there. Lorna McAteer. Many of us will know who she is from National Grid, fleet manager, very vocal about vans. We need to be vocal. We need to get certainty beyond April for both grants. We need to consider taxation, the road fund license, or VED as it's called, vehicle exercise duty. We need to get some certainty beyond April. We need to think about the congestion zone charge, that the exemption is being removed for all vehicles. But for the van world, which has to do a job and go into a particular place, it is disproportionately punitive and obviously very off-putting, and could actually reverse the trend of electric vehicles or commercial vehicles in the space of London, which is of course where the very reason that congestion zone and ULEZ zone and all of that sort of stuff, and we're seeking to add. So government didn't really realise how much of the things were going backwards and being disproportionately put on vans effectively. So I think we've had conversations with Lillian Greenwood. I think other ministers have also been spoken to. We've also managed to get to Richard Bruce, who's Director of Decarbonisation for the Office for Zero Emission Vehicles. There's a lot of push to get a plan, and this evidence for me is the reason we need to continue to push, to continue to be vocal, to continue to bang on about vans, Paul Kirby. Why do you never stop? Well, this is the reason I never stop, because it's going the wrong way.
I did some research whilst I was away and found that only 2.8% of the total government spend is spent on transport, and that includes road building, shipping, aviation, cars, vans, the whole works, and supports grants. 2.8%. And it makes me think, Sarah, really, transport, it's the biggest facilitator we have for economic growth. If we can get people and things moving around so that they can be economically productive, then we stand a chance of getting GDP up, reducing our deficit, and doing an amazing thing. Transport is part of the solution, yet we give it just really lip service.
Yeah, I saw a wonderful thing the other day. It said, "Well played, horse, well played." And there's a picture of a horse pulling a carriage, and then now there's a picture of someone putting a horse in a carriage to be towed around. And the reason it was funny, that it was a poignant sort of so hilarious transport geek joke, but it's about the fact that things change in a very rapidly in a very short space of time. And I love transport. As you know, this is my 20th year in this industry, and the reason I do it is because it affects everyone. And if we can plan for a better future, then great. And actually, Paul, you hosted a fab webinar this week with Green Fleet. Have I gone? Have I lost? Anyway, I'm back. And my friend called me. And you hosted a wonderful Green Fleet webinar all about LCV. We had Ollie Crawn from DPD. We had lots of people talking about what's missing. And it really hit home about the fact we need more electric vehicles to reduce congestion. So getting the size and payload is critical. And those who are lucky enough to have depot charging should now be in a good position to move forward with it, with all sorts of software helping to unlock that capability. So it's not all doom and gloom, even if those registrations have fluctuated. There's some good stuff.
There is some good stuff, and there's 170,000 just on 170,000 electric vans now on the road. So that's good. Only broke 100,000 not too long ago. So we're in the right place. But EV Bino, or Ron, as we
Ron Godfrey,
asked the question: are light commercial vehicles being replaced at the same rate, or is this a knock-on from economic factors?
Great question.
That's a really good question. Is the market going down, or is it just the electric? Well, Ron, sadly to tell you, it's just the electric, because the market is still pumping away at around about 340-ish thousand, and actually the market has gone up annually. So it is ever so slightly growing, not massively, but it's stationary at just about pre-COVID levels. And so we're not seeing a massive increase in terms of the annual replacements, but we aren't seeing a decrease either. So that makes it all the more poignant that vans are going backwards, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we're going to do a shout out now, or two. Here it goes. Well done to Gary Comerford, EV Musings, 9:21 this morning. Smashed the doors in, thank you kindly. Scott Eady wasn't far behind. Thank you, mate. EV Bino, Ron Godfrey, he was there. Thank you kindly. Oh, my scroll button's died. Oh, no. Here we go. Ashley Bannister. Hello, my friend. The legend that is DEV Chakravarti
Daily
in the
electric
house.
vehicle.
Yeah, 10:01. Where were you? David Cornish, hello. Mark Main, hello Mark, it was lovely to see you recently and thank you for your messages. Matthew Leng from rainy Suffolk, is it raining everywhere? Daryl Sharp, oh, he's got his EV Cafe mug. They say happy Friday, definitely. Michael Barton, he's always happy from Bristol. Esther, we've mentioned. Grant White, Danita Brewer, let us know how you're doing, Danita. We need to know if we've hit 7 yet. Josh Edkins from the aforementioned Web Fleet, where we were yesterday.
Hero, absolute hero.
Legend. That
Saved
man
my
is
life.
Such a hero. I know, thank you.
Jennifer Smith, always got wonderful things to say in a beautiful French accent. Lovely to see you here. LinkedIn user, it's Peter Heath.
Peter
He's got
Heath.
nice
He's got
teeth.
nice teeth.
Karen Moore, we've mentioned. Good morning, Karen. Craig Stark. Who else we got here? Scroll. Economy Trucks. You've had a shout out. Richard Lindop. Hope you've improved from a strong.
Who is Economy Trucks? I need to know who Economy Trucks is.
Yeah, I want to know the name. Yeah.
Let us know. Bob Murphy. Hello, my friend. Shane Reese. Danita Brewer is now an 8. An 8. She's practically boiling. This is good news.
I'm trying to keep... Oh, Bob Murphy. There we go. And
yeah,
just to prove it, Danita Brewer.
But Bob Murphy is here, and he is absolutely superb. Love that dude. Any road up.
10 minutes to do through some stories. Oh my God.
Come on, let's
Come
go.
on, we can do this. Sarah, you're up for the question. All-Star, a leading EV fuel and business expense payment company, has been selected by Sainsbury's as its first B2B roaming partner for its electric vehicle EV charging service, Smart Charge. All-Star customers will now benefit from being able to charge at 58 EV hubs at Sainsbury's stores nationwide. Drivers will also be able to collect Nectar points as they pay to recharge their EVs. Until October the 25th, Smart Charge is offering 10 Nectar points for those charging for the first time. This kind of retail-y innovation to draw people in. Big organisations are finally getting the message that if you stick in EV charging, you'll get more business.
Yeah, and whilst you can't necessarily do much about the pence per kilowatt hour at this point, you can incentivise the use of that charging through other loyalty schemes. Nectar is a loyalty scheme, and yes, the sort of tokenisation of it, the pence, its equivalent of worth, isn't that great, but they accumulate, they give you double points here, whatever. So it creates what we call sticky customers. So yet again, software unlocking the hardware is everything for building your network.
And if you haven't got sticky customers, you're probably doing it wrong. A rise in leasing payments between 2022 and 2024, reported by members of the BVRLA, the British Vehicle Rental and Leasing Association, reduced demand for battery electric vehicles by more than 220,000 vehicles last year. That's according to a new report from Oxford Economics, which has been commissioned by the BVRLA. Looking ahead, the research suggests that more than half of the fall in used prices will result in higher leasing payments, and it is anticipated to lower BEV demand by 70,000 vehicles by 2027. So this is all to do with residual value, Paul. Talk to us about residual value and the used car market, because that is critical.
It is, you're absolutely right. So, a vehicle is made up of a number of component parts when it comes to a lease. And the residual value is the critical bit. So the residual value can make or break a lease cost. Interest rate obviously can make a difference, and if you're having maintenance included, the difference in maintenance can also affect the prices, the price of tyres, and all of those good things. So when you bring it all together, the residual value is usually, I don't know, maybe somewhere between 40 and 50% of the total value of the lease, and the depreciation all goes into your monthly rate. If you've got more depreciation, you've got more in the monthly rate, and that pushes it up, and so therefore it's more expensive. And when lease companies are coming back to market with these vehicles, the used value is what drives the future residual value. So they look at what there happens today and they forecast what will happen in the future. There's companies like Cap and Glasses Guide that are out there that do all of that kind of stuff. So when you pull all of that together, it shows that the used market is so critically important to the future success of electric vehicles. And actually, we are paying pretty much zero attention to the used vehicle market as a whole. What we're doing is we're just throwing all of the vehicles at the top of the hopper and seeing what comes out. And we're not really focusing on educating the buyers, we're not focusing on educating the dealers, and we're not focusing on educating the second user. It was one of the things that stood out to me at Carfest this year. The used vehicle session was actually really quite well attended. Lots of people interested. Oh, used electric vehicles. I didn't even know there was any. How strange. And there are dealers actually focused on just selling those. But those are the guys are in the minority. So they're giving a good service. They're giving well-informed salespeople that know the products and all that kind of stuff. But we're not doing that across the piece. And of course, used vans, think used cars and then go Nightmare on Elm Street. So, it's pretty tricky and we need to focus on it.
We absolutely do. Now, Sarah, I think what's really key to this whole used market is the state of health of the batteries. We need developments to certify the state of health of batteries, surely, so that people know what they're getting. And I recognise that there is a wear and tear on an internal combustion engine vehicle, but a battery is a massive cost if your cells do take a beating.
and that the stats are there. It's just not something that OEMs are necessarily encouraged to release, but they really should be, because there's a lot of state of health sort of regs that mean that after a certain percentage, they're no longer to be used as a passenger vehicle, but they can be used as other things. You know, we visited the Nottingham depot where we saw stacks and stacks of old van batteries being used to power that entire, like 100 and something refuse collection vehicles now, all being supported by the connected energy battery, which is supported by the other vehicles' batteries. So I love that reuse. That isn't necessarily recycling, that's just reusing. They've not had to do much to those batteries. They haven't got to rebuild them or strip them down. They are just stacked in there with the correct component configuration. And also at the AFP Members Expo on Wednesday, I was speaking to some insurance groups who were saying about what happens when there's an incident with a vehicle and how it's not actually very favourable at the moment, which is one of the reasons the insurance costs are so high for an electric vehicle as well. But again, a lot of those cars are then going off to be used as something else rather than a passenger vehicle. So there's a lot to be done in understanding what is going on here. The good example, I sold my MG for 20 grand. No, sorry, I bought my MG for 22 grand, sold it for something heinous like 16 grand. And the very same model is now for sale for like £6,000. And that's since 2020. So in just 4 years, it's gone from nearly 23,000 to £6,500. So yeah, I just lease now for exactly that reason. I just know exactly what I'm paying and I feel very comfortable with managing that outgoing.
Yeah, I just seeing the comments there. Shane Reese, used car value sounds like a good opportunity to get an expert from Auto Trader on.
Oh, brilliant!
On a webinar yesterday with Erin Baker from Auto Trader, and she was giving some really interesting stats. Might be something for a webinar that we need to develop, Paul, to look at used car sales.
Yeah, that'd be really popular. Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure.
David Cornish, Hyundai give a battery health certificate with their used EVs, so you know exactly where you are. And Jennifer Smith, the aforementioned Jennifer Smith, I am the third owner of my little EV car and love it. It made it just about affordable for me. The battery hasn't really degraded yet at all.
Excellent.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Really helpful. Now then, First Group Energy Limited, the dedicated energy investment arm of the leading transport operator First Group, is investing £1 million in its business to supercharge its work in converting existing diesel and petrol vehicles into clean electric vehicles. First Group's a leader in environmental and social sustainability and has a long-term commitment to achieving a fully zero-emission fleet by 2035. And when you're doing buses, that's a big commitment. This venture investment aligns with First Group's focus on supporting innovative technologies within the decarbonisation value chain, aimed at lowering the total cost of ownership for electric buses to be equal to or even lower than internal combustion engine alternatives. This is huge. This kind of statement where an organisation takes the bull by the horns and says, look, we know we've got a massive challenge here. We are going to, it's £1 million, okay, it's not a huge investment in terms of government spend, but for a private company to say, do you know what, we're going to do that, we are going to make this work, it gives me hope, Paul, yes?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, I when I saw the headline of the article, 1 million to speed up electrification of buses, I'm thinking that's a drop in the ocean. But having said that, this is intelligently spent money, and the embedded carbon within those vehicles, which is all what often a lot of people say is a lot of fuss. You know, there's all this embedded carbon in the new vehicle, the steel pressed and the windows and all of that kind of stuff. Well, here we're just taking out the old diesel engine, chucking that in the bin, and taking the fuel tank and chucking that out, sticking some motors in and a battery, and jobs are good. And it's at the most critical point, isn't it? It's where the schools are. It's in the inner cities. It's transporting our children. This is the right thing to do. And there's so much easier and nicer to drive. I was talking to the guy from Mercedes-Benz that used to train the e-trucks, and he said, I hate this blooming electric thing. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? He said, look, every time I drive it, I remember that I've got to get back into one of the diesel ones. So it was a really kind of really nice. Clever way of kind of, but this is it. The joy of driving these vehicles, they're so much easier. So if they're easier to drive, they should be safer. Buses, coaches need to be as safe as possible. Got precious transport in. There we go. It's a perfect solution.
And Sarah, we're at Fleet and Mobility Live 8th and 9th of October, where we are likely to see these retrofitted vehicles that have been diesel or petrol in the past, brought along, changed to electric drivetrain, and the world is a wonderful place.
Yeah, you can't tell the difference. You absolutely can't tell the difference. And the ITT hub, as it used to be, had a couple of them along. And that's the point. You see it and you just think, oh, it's an electric bus. Well, it wasn't, but it is now. And that's the thing. As long as the passenger isn't going to have to pay more for an electric bus. I know it sounds crazy out loud, but if there is some kind of stupid secret hidden cost being applied to the consumer, then that sucks. But there's nothing worse than having your head rattle on the glass on an old diesel bus. That's horrendous. So I'd be all in favour of the nice. I love a bus.
Now, here's the thing. In China, if you if you go in a taxi, if you go in an electric taxi, you save 20% on the cost
that way
of
round.
the journey. And there is a massive queue for electric taxis in China. You do not have the same queue for petrol or diesel taxis because they're more expensive. Just innovative thinking there. Anyway, if you've got any clean transport, PR, and news stories you'd like us to cover, please send them to us at hello@evcafe.org. Until next Friday, it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from these two. Thank you so much for being here. This has been an EV Cafe production. Other sustainability news services are available, but this is just fun.
Sorry, everyone. In the office.
And no
Now-
dissenters.
Indeed. Danita, if you're still here, you were at an 8. Where are you now?
Please
the
say 10.
EV Cafe is truly blessed to be partnered with the AA, Webfleet, Europcar, Paythrough, Iveco, Zaptec, Drax, Spiri, Stuart Science, Hydrock, Allstar, Schneider Electric, and Dynamon. We are the EV Cafe, supporting the transition to zero-emission transport. Enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. Whatever number you're feeling, I hope you can at least maintain that, if not just slightly improve. Have a great weekend and we'll see you all next week. Thank you kindly. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Danita, 9.5.